episode of Threadlings. Tran.
Yes.
We have a special guest today, our good friend and composer Dan Dombrowsky. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan. Dan.
I don't think we could hear Dan. I think Dan is. I think he's completely
Not connected.
not connected to us. So okay, so Dan is having some some technical issues, but hold on, like he really can't hear us. Like I don't even think he. I don't even.
I just hear you now.
Okay, perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, this is. Yeah.
So we've had some sound issues today. We've been trying to set this up for the past hour,
Yeah, literally for an hour.
and it has not been successful. So we're going to be showing a limited version of what we wanted to show, but at least we'll show something. And yeah, I'm opening up some of the files here that you sent me. I just downloaded everything. But how's it going, man?
Oh, me? Yeah, I'm super duper.
You're the guest.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm great. I'm. No, no, everything is great. Sorry, I'm just.
You're just stressed out from trying
I've been one of those. Yeah, trying to figure out this audio thing. But you know what? We don't need to show them how the sauce is made. So we can just be all secretive about it and just. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the sausage was not made is the problem. So Bobby R, what's going on, man?
Yes.
So so Dan has been working with us since our very first short film called The Green Ruby Pumpkin. And before that, I've known Dan since we were like 15 years old or something like that.
15, 16, yeah.
Yeah.
So like 3 or 4 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So we haven't known each other for that long. But when we were kids, we used to be in two punk bands or rock bands. I don't know what you want to call them. And we would always play together. We played together a bunch. And Dan was the bass player from one of the bands called what the fuck was it called again?
Smite.
Smite. And we were the band
Smite.
Garland's Room, yeah. And we would always play together. And we actually didn't even live that far from each other back in Miami. So you lived in on the nice side, and we lived on the bad side.
I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
But yes, I guess so, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. So we've known each other forever. So over 25 years or some craziness. So
Oh, no, dude. We're pushing 30
we're
years.
pushing 30, right? Shit.
No, yeah, we're past 30 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you stop counting at a certain time. It
Yeah.
makes you feel old.
Oh no, I count every day that I've known Miguel.
Yeah.
Like, just another day. I'm so lucky.
Yeah. So we've known each other for a while, and Dan's done the music for all the projects we've done so far. And yeah, he's really the third amigo in the band. That is Tran and I. We're always like, okay, well, we don't even say like, well, Dan is doing it. Like we just know he's doing it. So he's always been like the sound of our film. So yeah. So we're on to another one. So he did you win for the voice in the Hollow? You did at Horror House, right? Didn't it win best sound, best music?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, yeah.
I feel like it did.
It did, right?
Yeah.
I possibly, yeah.
So hold on. They're saying that the
Yes.
audio's coming in choppy, so I'm gonna hide. How's that? They're saying that. Okay, so hold on. My audio's funky.
Yeah, that's better.
He said it's better. Okay.
Okay, so it's fixed. Okay, cool. So yeah. So we've so it won some awards for sure for music and yeah. So anyway, so the Threadlings is a new challenge because we're trying to. One of the things we always like to do is if you look at the Green Ruby Pumpkin, the Ningyo, the Voice in the Hollow, and now this, visually and musically, they're completely different, all of them. Would you say so, Dan? Yeah, musically for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think visually too.
Yeah.
Visually
Like,
too.
all our stuff doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, this looks very similar to the Ningyo, though.
Very similar. Yeah.
Sorry, I got jokes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
There's a
sorry.
comedian on
I'll
the side,
stop.
by the way.
Yeah.
So, well, there is actually a connection to the Ningyo besides that. So this week we can say that Jerry Lacey, who was in the Ningyo, will be playing the voice of Professor Shrog. So we have asked him to play the voice. And Gabe Fazio will be playing a guy called Gourd. So both of them were from the Ningyo, and they will both be on there. So Gabe has been in a bunch of stuff, including A Place Beyond the Pines, which is one of my favorite modern movies. I love this thing. I think it's so amazing. And Jerry Lacey goes back to like the Dark Shadow days.
The original Dark Shadow.
The original Dark Shadows. He played alongside Woody Allen in what's this thing called again? I forget. Say It Again, Sam. So this is him as a younger man, and he was one of the main guys on Dark Shadows, which is pretty cool. So he's great. We've known him for a while. He's awesome, and
It's a great cast.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and in terms of music, do you want to talk a little bit about the journey to like how we started, Dan, in terms of like the stuff we're gonna play right now?
Yes. This project in particular, well, we've changed things up over the last few projects. With Green Ruby Pumpkin and Voice in the Hollow, we always did everything after you had pictures. So I was always trying to go after some idea that you had already had in mind or something that you tempt with. But this is kind of similar to Voice in the Hollow in the sense that we're trying to do everything before you have picture.
Yeah.
We're trying to come up with these sounds and kind of what's going on, so that you can work, so we can kind of work backwards almost, which is cool in a couple of different ways because, well, it's great, but it's also incredibly difficult. It's great because then I'm not kind of wrapped into the tempo, the key, the sound, the this and that of something that you've fallen in love with by placing it in the picture, like temp love.
Meaning someone else's music.
But
yeah, for those that don't know.
exactly.
Yeah. Which is total
and so
standard in
what
a Hollywood procedure, right? Everybody goes in, and there's actually a video on this
On Vox.
on Vox about
Why
Marvel
out?
music in particular, and just how a lot of directors, they put temp tracks in there, and then they fall in love with it because they're editing to that music, and then they're being told you can't get that song or you don't want that song because it's a famous song from another film. So now when you go to the composer, you're kind of telling the composer, hey, rip off this guy indirectly and try to hit the beats, which kind of sucks, I would think, right?
Yeah, and it was that whole video is super interesting. It's about how all music sounds the same.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's why.
Well, it's interesting too because my understanding, and maybe this is just Hollywood lore, is that Hans Zimmer has some type of rule about temp where because enough of the movies he was working on were getting temped with one of his scores, so he was forced to constantly have to recreate these pieces of music that he created 10 some odd years ago. So I think he has a don't temp it with my stuff rule.
Mhm.
I could be wrong, but I recently had something where the director kept referring back to stuff that I had written, which was weird because then I'd have to kind of try and recreate something that I did without rewriting something that I did.
That's interesting.
So, but yeah, it was great. But I mean, it all came out fine. And look, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I'm doing anything groundbreaking or recreating creating any new styles of music or anything like that. But it does take the shackles off, it kind of opens things up in the sense that it allows me to kind of run around and do what I want. But the downside is there's no picture, right? So we kind of get when you watch a movie, or at least when I watch a movie, you can get a sense of how big and small the music is going to be based on what's happening on screen. So you don't want to sound bigger than the picture. You don't want to sound smaller than the picture. You don't want to work against what's going on. Even down to the colors of what's happening will determine what's happening musically. But this has been fun. I mean, this has been great because I've been able to mess around. I've been writing, trying to time things out based on the scripts.
Yeah.
And so I'm like going through and trying to hit things, and you've already come back with notes.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm a genius. We're gonna do what I want. No, and so now I'm gonna go back and I like it because it becomes a conversation. It becomes a conversation early, and we don't get tied to something that somebody else did.
Yeah, we don't get tied to anything, which is so cool. And I loved working this way on The Voice in the Hollow. And what I ultimately do at a certain point is I'll take it from where he has it and I butcher the fuck out of it. I just chop it up, cut it up. I make a mess out of it. And then I hand it back to Dan and I'm like, now make it work, right? And it's like the equivalent of anatomically like shoving a forearm into a nose and a fucking, leg into the ear, and hand it back to Dan and be like, make that look like it belongs. And yeah.
Dude, you think you're not that's bad, but I'm working on a project now where in last night, and it's all, I have to come to it. But the director laid multiple different pieces that I did on top of each other. And so now I'm going to have to watch and figure out what's going. They're all in different keys, but it works. Now I'm going to have to go and figure out just what's going on. So
make it work for you.
You're gentle.
Okay, so it's not
like it's
okay.
I mean, and you're musical too, right? Because not many people, well, you mentioned at the beginning, but you do have a musical background. And and so at least when you chop these things up, it's hitting at musical spots. So that is helpful.
Yeah.
I can only imagine because Miguel does all the directing and the music, and I just listen to it. I go, oh, that sounds great. But I can imagine if I wasn't sitting in Miguel's shoes, that it would be pretty messed up.
It's funny because Tran makes it sound like she doesn't understand music, and the thing is, music's like kind of new to Tran, which is kind of funny to say, right? Like,
yeah,
like she didn't grow up like us, Dan. That music was like such a crucial part of our childhood. Like Tran's music is like anime music.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's video game music.
No, it's not.
So what is it?
I don't have music.
You have no music.
Yeah.
Was your dad's karaoke? You told me.
Yeah. Anime music. I do not listen to anime music.
Well, you said your dad did karaoke and it traumatized you and it made you hate music.
He did. So I grew up listening to Vietnamese music and my dad's karaoke. And Vietnamese music, the same song over and over and over. So even if it was a good song, it's like, it was really torturous. My dad would listen to like 10 songs. And
karaoke is huge in Vietnam.
Yeah, and then he would sing, and he's really a bad singer. So I just like silence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't have a good music library. Like I'm very ignorant.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So the thing that's changing on this is like,
yeah,
okay.
Look at Chatty on Fire. See, I am weird. Haha. How can you not listen to music, Tran? Yeah,
Tran is weird like that for sure.
I like silence.
But you've been listening to more music lately.
Yes. When it comes to like, it's very different now that we're more like filmmakers. Music is extremely important, right?
Yeah.
So now it's become like an art, but I don't listen to like songs with lyrics and things like that so much unless Miguel's playing it.
Sometimes she'll get her thug on and ask me to play 50 Cent, which she likes, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, there's some good 50 Cent song. I'm like, oh, this sounds nice.
So yeah, that's Thug Trend. But
this song is nice. That's out. That I'm sure he's like, oh man, she thinks my song's nice. That's
Maybe
Yeah,
that's
but
not the
there's
way she
50 Cent
describe it.
songs.
Bobby says, yeah, you gotta have music playing while you're doing CG. Absolutely. Serial killer profile. Yeah, totally. So so on this, the big thing is, if you've seen the poster, you know it's very much like a '80s kickback, an homage piece to movies from the '80s, and I think the first round that Dan hit was probably a little premature. Tran listens to the GPU fans. That's
No,
that's
you know what?
the
I have AirPods, and sometimes I just put them on for noise canceling.
just to shut out the world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just completely quiet.
So yeah, but musically, so we wanted this to have this '80s feel, and we really like stuff like, who did the Dark Crystal? Is that Alan Horn? Who did that? Do you know?
That's Trevor Horn, Trevor Morris. I think it's Trevor Horn.
Let me see.
Let me just do a quick Google.
Is a solid question. Well, there's two. The new
Trevor
one
Jones,
is Daniel
yeah.
Pemberton. Trevor Jones.
Trevor.
But the new one's Daniel Pemberton, who's pretty fantastic as well.
Yeah.
His score for that was nuts.
Yeah. They're
series.
they're both great. So we kind of were like, okay, we know this has like fantasy elements to it, but we also want to put the horror elements to it. Now, part of the reason why we shifted more to horror, I think you agree that the script has moved more towards the horror side, even though it sticks with the fantasy, but we've tried to add in more of a horror element to it. So I'll play some of the original stuff. So this is the Threadlings Cave into Cot Journey. Should we start with that one?
It's your show, man. Whatever you want.
Okay. Can you hear that okay?
Yeah.
I love that. It actually sounds pretty
Yeah,
freaking amazing,
it is
actually.
actually really
Going
nice.
back and listening to that, because I haven't listened to that for a while. Like,
Yeah.
dude, I really like that one.
Well, it's funny. I tried to replicate that theme for the new version of stuff.
Yeah.
But it came out sounding more like the ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. It came out the way I did it. That was the Dracula sounding part.
I really loved the way that sounded. Hearing it for the first time in a few months, I love that. What do you think, Tran?
It sounds really good. I was
Yeah.
thinking like, what? This sounds great.
Yeah, this sounds great. So
Dan is so diverse.
Don't change directions on me now. We can't.
well, the thing is,
We're going 80s horror
well,
now.
the thing is, you can. We'll talk about this later, but you could start with that, and then it all goes to hell, which is kind of what happens with the story too, right? You think it's all this fantasy stuff, and then it kind of goes into another direction. So, okay, let's see what people are saying. Epic, getting goosebumps listening, so that's great. That turned on to an epic scene. That turned to an epic scene at the end. I need to learn how to read. Oh my God, that sounds beautiful. The emotions are flooding my eyes. So Netbug is crying, looking at your face. Yeah. Netbug, Dan is married, so chill. All right, so so the next stop is this one's called Meet Mayo. Okay.
Okay, whoa. Let's hang on, because this was just so people know. This was first stab. Like when I write these, when I do this type of stuff, and with the new stuff too, is it's kind of just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. So this was based on, and I probably didn't have enough of a conversation with you all about the Mayo character. And so this was my kind of uninformed just thoughts of what Mayo might sound like. And knowing more about the story now and knowing what's happening in the tone of it, this is definitely not right.
It's not right, but it's really cool anyway.
It kind of,
It's really cool.
yeah, I went around the studio and just kind of like with Voice in the Hollow, I went around the studio and just grabbed a bunch of different things that didn't belong to me to make noise, and just tried some different instruments and stuff like that. And I wouldn't call it singing, but I'm using my voice on this one too. So that's great.
And let me pull something
yeah.
up also. Give me 1 second. To kind of.
This is an interesting question. I do want to come back to this.
What's the question?
Hey, Dan, what do you use to make music? What's your setup?
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll come back to that. So let's just. So this is Mayo, so everybody understands what we're dealing with here, right?
Every time I look at his face, he makes me smile.
Yeah, he's the best. Okay, so let me pull this up. I have no idea where my. Give me 1 second. I have to figure out which window has my restream on it.
That was the most stressful desktop I've ever seen. So much stuff on there.
I agree.
I do not have a lot of stuff on my.
You have too much.
Okay, 1 second, guys. 1 second. I have way too many tabs, is what I have. And then this is the mic stuff that we're buying, which we're going to get into later. And this is still not it, Jesus.
Am I glancing over Miguel's computer?
And of course, it's the last one I open. Okay. Stream dying. Okay, so I'm gonna hide my camera for now. Tran, you should hide your camera because our.
Is it? Okay, we're getting audio chops.
I'm gonna close this.
His audio.
Should I hide my camera?
No, it's ours. We're using stuff that takes up so much CPU that the audio gets a little bit funky. Okay, so this is Mayo. Wait, is there anything you want to say about the previous song? Like what you were thinking when you were doing that, or we'll come back to that. Let's play the Mayo one because I actually do want to come back to that original one. So let's play Mayo. So this is the Mayo theme essentially. I love that. I think we should use that for the Gourd gang later on. I think it's really cool.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. I think use that, and make it a little
Yeah,
more
make it a
ragged.
little bit more ragged, but I think it's something completely original. It's so freaking weird. What do you think, Tran?
No, it is very cool. I don't know how you come up with this. Dan is so talented. I think he's so diverse.
Yeah, you are the most diverse person I've ever seen with music. Like you do hip hop, you do like a bunch of commercial music, you do everything. So
Yeah, I remember you did a rap too.
you did the rap for
Oh, I do a
yeah,
lot of
You
rap.
actually like rap
Yeah.
with your.
yeah.
I am the voice of the rapping baby dragon on the Clash of Clans commercials or Clash Royale
Yeah.
commercials.
Here's an interesting.
So if someone wants to go to YouTube, you can hear me rap. Put in rapping baby dragon Clash
So
Royale.
people are saying so funny, a bop, Beaker from the Muppets Garage Band. Well, you know what? Beaker is a huge inspiration for Mayo, so that's actually if that's what you got from it, that's pretty
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
So Bobby R is asking, what's your background? How did you get into scoring? It's a good question.
Well, yeah, and Chatty on Fire or
Chatty.
Chatty on Fire asked, "What do I use to make music? What's your setup?" Let me start with Chatty. I use Logic, uh, and just kind of a ton of different. For that first piece, it was Logic, and I honestly don't even know what orchestra and choir patches I was using. It was probably LA's scoring strings or one of the Spitfire strings. And for choir on that, I was probably using, oh gosh, I honestly don't know, and I'm not trying to be evasive. It was probably an amalgamation of things, and it's a lot of just messing around with things on that last one, the Mayo one. That was, I mean, you can hear some of like the little 80s filtery
Yeah.
synths going on in there, and
Especially
the little
towards the end.
arpeggiated things. Uh, yes, and that was me yelling into a microphone and singing, and all my neighbors here. We have a lot of glass, and I'm surrounded by people. And on this one, they would just walk by and see me yelling into a microphone, and then just shaking and banging anything around here. Just like when we did Voice in the Hollow, I used that Aztec
Yeah.
whistle, and they for like ever, and they wondered why I was sitting in my room screaming, and I wasn't. And as for what's my background for Bobby R and Chatty, that I hope that's helpful. If you want me to get more technical, I go in and out with an Apogee Element 88, but I'm going to be changing that soon. For monitoring, I have Atom A7Xs, but I think I'm changing those soon because I'm moving my setup to a different room and trying to expand at the same time. I have a controller. I don't do a ton of outboard stuff just because I'm incredibly indecisive. I kind of keep writing until I'm mixing. Even while I'm mixing, I'm changing stuff around. So I don't put anything to audio. I don't really throw things out to out. I don't throw things out to outboard gear because, and this might come in on Bobby's question. My background is that I had a corporate job until my mid 30s, and I
What was
came
your
out to
corporate job?
LA.
Tell us.
I worked for RCA Records, for the RCA Jive label group, which now it's just RCA Records. I was working in the international marketing department. I was in charge of coordinating manufacturing and digital releases of US repertoire everywhere outside of the
Okay.
US. I left that job a little over 12 years ago, moved out here to do this with very few job prospects. And a mutual friend of Miguel's and mine happened to have a reality TV show that he had just sold. And so a couple months after I got here, I somehow landed on this reality TV pitching. I just kept sending him rap songs that I wrote and rapped on. I was like, how
That
about
was
this?
Miami
This should be the
Toe
theme
or
for your
South
TV
Beach
show.
Toe?
And so that's how I got into it. And what's that?
That was South Beach Toe.
Hello.
Hello? Can you not hear me?
Yeah, South Beach Toe.
South Beach Toe. Yeah.
I can hear you. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
Yeah.
That was the name of the show, right? That was.
And so I kind of needed to be able to change ideas quickly because when I first got here, I did a lot of reality TV, and so I would get these notes back and always having to revise things. I didn't like putting stuff to audio, so I could change things. So my background is kind of pretty much, and this is to Bobby's question. My background is kind of self-taught. I moved here. I went on an interview to be a composer. Realized that I was woefully under.
Oh, we lost you there. Dan froze up.
Yeah.
Well, while he freezes up or unfreezes up,
He's totally frozen.
he's completely frozen.
Yeah, his face is all frozen.
He'll be back.
Yeah.
So, okay, so he'll be back. I'm gonna go to some of the new stuff. Yeah, you might. Dan's completely frozen.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to jump back in, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, Chatty. So Chatty's saying that's a crazy change of path. The other thing that he forgot to mention in there is he was a proofreader. There he is. Hey, you're back.
I'm back.
Hey.
Okay.
So you got a job with a composer, and you were woefully blank.
Oh no, I did. I got an interview, and I got laughed out of the interview. And,
Okay.
And I realized at that point that I had to figure a way forward on my own, and so I just kind of through dumb luck.
Laughed out of the interview?
Essentially,
That
because
was like
they
your
had an
incredible
interview
moment.
question where. What's that?
That's like your Incredibles moment where you made fun of the kid, and then he like promised to avenge against Mr. Incredible.
You're breaking up. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. It's VLC seems to be the killer. Whenever I press VLC, it goes to hell. Okay. So anyway, it doesn't matter. So you didn't get the job, and then you just basically focus on your own stuff.
Yeah, kind of. And look, I'm 12 years in, and it's still kind of a struggle. It's at my wife can attest to this. About monthly, I'm like, why did I do this to myself? But it's I don't
We do
know.
the same thing.
Yeah, we
amazing.
do the same thing. We do the same thing.
But it's this crazy thing, right? It's this crazy team sport, right? I get to work with some of the greatest people and help do something different, do something special, do something that says something to somebody. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's amazing, and I love that I get to do that.
Yeah.
It's terrifying though, like because
It's super unstable, and that's the same for us.
Yeah, it's the life of an artist.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, and
Why did we decide to do this?
dude, I
Why do
mean,
we do
come
art?
on.
Well, it depends what kind of artist. I think for us as filmmakers, it's tough. Where you could work in it commercially and you will have a very good salary and a very good living, and that's what Miguel and I had to step away from.
Yeah.
You can have a great living, or you can do whatever you want to do, and then that's harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in my I have 2 kids, and every time they go near a musical instrument, I'm like smacking it out of their hands. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
you're gonna learn science,
Yeah.
learn AI. I don't know. It's
Let me ask you,
what the
have you
was.
played, or have you, so the AI question is a good question. Have you actually tested any of the AI music stuff, or the AI anything in terms of music at all? No?
No, no.
Because I read that article on the, what was it called? The, crap, what's it called? The guy from Rogue One.
The creator.
the creator.
Yeah. So the movie that just came out.
The movie that just came out, it was scored by Hans Zimmer, but I read how the director they actually went and they got AI to write a bunch of temp tracks in the style of Hans Zimmer, and then they presented that to Hans Zimmer, and then Hans Zimmer did his own take on it. It's kind of crazy.
I don't
Yes.
know what the creator's about, but that almost sounds like that. I don't know what the creator's about.
It's about AI. So
Right.
So it's actually kind of perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly. And to me, and I mean, maybe this isn't something to say out loud, but when see.
Oh, you could be completely against it. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's no, not. It's an interesting way to make that score, right? If you think about it, like you're making a score about AI with AI, so that's very. It's like you're using another musical instrument, right? It's also a cool story to tell when you're promoting the movie. Like I did PR for a movie that's on Hulu if you guys ever want to watch it. But during the PR that we did for it, I was told that I have to have some type of story to make it interesting. And I was like, well, the story is I wrote music for a scene and it worked. But that's not a terribly exciting story to tell people, you know?
So you wrote that you were
so I think it also makes yeah. I mean, people like some of the examples they gave me is somebody was doing a movie that was set in, Siberia. And so they recorded, icicles breaking and ran it through a modular synth. And then they used that. So it sounded cold. And I'm like, that's cool. That just feels like a lot of work for a story. But, any way you cut it, and people have different opinions about Hans Zimmer. I think the guy's masterful. Yeah. I think it's, the stuff he does. There are a few people that when they release music, it changes the direction of things.
Yeah, he's one of them.
In that industry. Hans and Trent and Atticus. Yeah. Like when they do stuff, everyone else starts following that. And I think that's so impressive.
I actually was watching Lost Highway this week, which is one of the early, it was more like he gathered the songs, but it's one of his early stints in movies. Trent Reznor. Can you hear me or no?
Now I can. Oh, I love the song from that. Perfect Drug.
Yeah. It's just a good choice of songs in that soundtrack. All right, so let's move on to the next song so we don't bore people with us blabbing about movies from the 90s that we saw when we were kids. So okay. So
and for Chatty, yes, I use a MIDI keyboard to control instruments in Logic. So Logic is like it's almost like I just use it to control the sounds that are in there. So it's like just like having
which MIDI keyboard? What MIDI keyboard are you using?
The cheapest one I could find that was 88 keys. It's the Nectar Impact LX88 Plus. But all it does is it sends signals to my computer that says play this note this loud for this long. It doesn't generate any sounds on its own.
It's just a controller. Okay. All right. So that the early stuff you heard there was much more fantasy based, right? So that was more when we were kind of, and like I said, hearing it again, like today, made me go like, wow, I really loved it. But then we started shifting more towards horror, and this is Dan's take on basically the same section here. So I'm going to play this now. So this is much more of a John Carpenter vibe. So I'm going to play it. Wait, this is the old one. Oh, this is the new one. This is the new one. Okay, sorry.
It's very similar, but yes, that's the new one.
Okay, cool. So we got some cool comments. So they say, "Wow, this feels like '80s," which is totally does. I love it. James is also saying stuff. James is for you guys that don't know, he's like
Our invisible guy.
he's the voice in the sky. Yeah, yeah, and he keeps everything running, and he really likes it. So James wants to see your logic panel, but let's save that to the end because we had a lot of fun with that before, just to see the stuff. You don't have to actually have it play, but it'd be cool to see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. But let's save that to the end so that everything doesn't explode. Okay, so
We won't be able to hear anything, but you
that's
can
fine. That's
sure
fine.
see it.
You could just have it open and then I'll play the music on top, and then
Or
yeah,
you can just like make the sounds with your mouth.
you can just make the sounds with your mouth. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Wow, 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 wow.
But you did the Mayo one, so.
Yeah, you did.
So
There we
any thoughts on this one? So tell us a little bit about how this one came to be. So it does feel like a variation of the other one. Let's hear that one more time, because it is similar, but yet it's different, right?
Well,
This one has much.
yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
So they're pretty different,
Yeah.
but it's still cool
Well,
to compare.
it's the same melody,
Yeah.
you know. And the other one, when we get to the big, that's just pulled from that melody there. Which I mean, we'll talk about that more when we get into that. That was my attempt at a cot or a threadling hero theme.
Team, yeah.
It didn't translate terribly well to the dark horror 80s synths, but maybe finding a different way to do that on those instruments might. I mean, I still have to sit down and.
What if it's
As
with an
I
electric
said in,
guitar?
well, there are guitars in here, and guitars that I played. I'm not a great guitarist. I have a guy that I use that I was gonna have him replace it, but I do have. There are some guitars on it. I kind of kitchen sinked it. So, but yes.
So
So they're similar.
yeah. Netbug wants to know, how do you save random ideas that pop up when you have no instruments on you? He has maracas that he carries around all the time.
I do. I have maracas. I'm like, I sing
record your
voice notes. Yeah, voice notes into my phone.
Okay.
But if I'm doing it walking around, I have to pretend like I'm on hold, so I don't just look like a lunatic. Or if I ever lose my phone, somebody will question my sanity as well, because it's all just notes of me singing. But yeah, I have like
Literally
20 or 30 threadling
Themes.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Because it's usually me like, you know, so no one wants to hear that.
No, but that's pretty awesome.
So they both sound great. What's cool is I don't necessarily feel like one has to be chosen over the other. I do think that where it gets big, like we're saying, the Count Dracula part works so well on the fantasy one, and it doesn't work as well on the more synth one, even though it's basically the same melody. It's interesting. It's interesting because it is a good melody. So maybe it's just the wrong sound.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think that's kind of what it is, because it's I did go for very dark because based on what was happening in the script that I read. I also don't know how long that section. I was envisioning it over a title card or
Sure.
something
Oh,
like that. So
Yeah, that's what it sounds
that's
like.
totally the logo appears when that music peaks. 100%.
Which is very cool.
well, and part of me was thinking that we have the Threadling title card come up. The Threadlings, and then featuring, like in huge letters, featuring the music of Dan
That's what
Dombrowsky.
we were thinking.
But my thinking was we just have like a we just hint towards the theme.
Yeah.
And so then when we get to the end or wherever, and we need the whole thing, we have like we've heard the building blocks throughout it, so that we get some type of payoff at the end, and we can hear the whole big epic thing at the end.
Well, we like the idea that maybe it peaks out and you feel like it's a heroic moment in the part of the script where Cod does that thing to Zort, and for a second he feels like he's a hero until he looks around and realizes that no one else besides Mayo thinks what he just did was the right thing. But anyway, we'll get to that later. So animated, Paul, I'm not ignoring you, but like I don't know how we could help you. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's a loaded question. Yeah, just let us know what you're thinking. So okay, so next up is the Threadlings running to Shrog. So just so you guys understand what this is basically a moment in the film where our two protagonists witness a murder, and then they run to go get help. And the murder is the moths killing someone very important, and then running to get help from the professor, played by Jerry Lee.
Well, and this is what a Mickey Mouse score without picture sounds like. So it's just there's a lot of starts and stops that may not necessarily make sense. I was just putting it in based on what I was reading in the script.
Sure. So here we go. Cool.
Yeah,
So
that sounds great.
let's see some of the comments. So Netbug, Cod didn't smack Zort with a red crystal that awoke the Messiah, did he? No. But that's a lot of information you've retained there, Mr. Netbug.
Yeah, and like that comment makes you realize like how much you
People
actually
are actually
listen.
paying attention. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, pretty amazing.
So really cool. What I like about that piece in particular is it feels to me like that's just a bunch of sections that could be cut up and shoved throughout the rough edit to be like, okay, how about this? How about that? How about this? So that's pretty interesting. Let's see what we have here. Has some Captain Future inspiration in there. Dan?
I don't know what Captain Future is,
Yeah, I
but
know what Captain Future.
it honestly it had what inspired it was John Carpenter, and then that bit at the end was inspired by Quincy Jones's Ironside theme.
Mm-hmm.
That that's kind of where I was lifting that, like, kind of that idea was coming from that world. I just
Isn't that what's used in Kill Bill?
yes,
Ideas, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it was something like kind of tongue in cheek that I threw in there. I was envisioning, like, to me, that was the scene where one character throws something at another character, and I envisioned seeing it turning end on end, and then the thing being caught, and then we have that down, 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 almost like,
Yeah.
I feel
uh-oh,
like
you
I
know?
can hear the story in it,
Yeah.
and I really like the small, like subtle parts of it a lot. Like I don't know, it just really helps the tone.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I love I love all of it, but I love the atmospheric sections. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Um,
I feel, well, of course
Good.
I like the big parts too, but like, it feels like I can see the story. I mean, I don't see it, but I can feel the tone of the story.
well, you can see it in your head.
Yeah.
I can see it in my head. Like it just really pulls everything together.
That's we have that, and then we have
Caught starting to talk.
there you go. Look at that. So it works.
Yeah.
So awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Does anybody have any questions for Dan on any one of those pieces?
Y'alls are breaking up a little bit. I didn't catch that. But you
Does
can keep
anybody
throwing
have,
compliments at me.
does anybody have
sorry.
any questions for Dan? No. It usually takes a second
Yeah.
for the questions to come in.
No, there's like a little bit of delay.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, it's no, this is I enjoy working this way. It creates a different level of stress. Not stress is not a good word for it. It's its own thing, and it creates I don't know. I think it's great. It lets us kind of lets us figure out what the sandbox is, right? And what is working, and then we get to like mess around and create stuff without necessarily being tied to something that's happening on screen. I mean, it is truly a conversation,
Yeah.
and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I may, Bobby wants to hear more music.
Bobby wants to hear my
As do I,
You know what would
Bobby.
be cool is
As
is
do
to
I.
come up with a moth theme, like something that
Well,
like, oh, that's the Darth Vader theme.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
I was, I've been, because how long have we been talking about this? We've been talking about this for a while, and
For a year.
in the initial conversations about it, right? I don't like moths in general. Moths freak me out. They're like the anti-butterfly, right? They're like the butterfly of darkness.
Yeah.
And they're also like very frantic, and I struggle with frantic, and to me I don't know much about the mentation of a moth, but I also feel that there's not much happening in there, and so to me, in my head, and we haven't spoken about this, part of me was thinking that there is no moth theme. There's a moth sound, right? But that's not great for a cinematic. So I was like tossing all these ideas around, like, should we get stuff like, and this was back when we were thinking 80s fantasy orchestra. I was like, should we just get something that moves sound, or that moves air, right? Because that's what a moth does, is it moves air frantically. And then I was toying around with the idea of just getting like a baritone or like a baritone or a bass saxophonist or clarinetist in here to just make noises, and then grab them and kind of mangle them, layer them up, and then, or someone with like there's an accordionist in the building, getting them to just make bellow sounds, right? Like the accordion has a bellow, and you can, if you push it away, it'll go like just to kind of make sounds, so that we could kind of, like, when we heard this, like, or whatever it would be, but then that would step on the toes of whatever sound design you're doing. So musically, there should be some musical thing. I don't know what that is, and I agree with Bobby that it's got to go hard. But I don't know what that is. So yes.
Well, I like what you're saying. I think that's a good idea. And even though we're going with the 80s synth thing, it's not like it all has to sound the same. Do you know what I mean? We're not pretending this is from the 80s. This is a modern film. We can hit references from everything as long as it feels like it belongs in the same film.
Yeah, because I mean, Miguel is constantly. Well, we talk about how the music would be when I don't know, what do you call them? Can we just call it the Gourd Gang?
The Gourd Gang.
They won't even know what the Gourd Gang is.
So the Gourd Gang is a gang at the very end of the film. They literally have one page in the script, and they're part of the cliffhanger at the end, and they are basically a bunch of gypsy punks, which is a word that you taught me, Dan, which I didn't even know that was a genre of music.
Is that the genre?
Oh, we're not allowed to. I didn't say gypsy punk. There's a designation of music. I did say gypsy punk. This was before the awareness came that you're not really supposed to be saying gypsy. But yes, there's a genre of music called gypsy punk.
Yeah.
But yes, sorry. I just wanted to qualify that before we all go getting canceled or whatnot.
Oh, is that actually a bad word now?
You're not supposed to say that anymore.
Yeah. Gypsy's not a great word. But Gogol Bordello is the band that refers to themselves as gypsy punk. Is Bulgarian punk.
Oh, I had no idea that was. I mean, everything is a bad word, so whatever.
Oh, yeah, I think it's bordering on a slur. Okay. But they do have an album that they call gypsy punk. So that is not Miguel, Tran, or I. That's Lior Hutz.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, I totally didn't know that, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean,
yeah, I wanted to jump on that before the comments went nuts.
There's ice creams that are now technically the name of the ice cream brands that we grew up with are now considered offensive.
Really?
Oh yeah, one that involves the North Pole and the South Pole, possibly.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, let's not go down that. So.
Let's change the topic.
So the Gourd Gang, is
they're nomads.
Nomads, yeah. And they have these wagons that are made out of pumpkins, and they're all musicians, and they're all made out of trash.
Yeah.
So
they literally, just like how the Threadlings are cloth people, these are trash people.
They're trash people. And they
there's nothing derogatory. They're literally made out of garbage.
They're made out of metal.
True. Yeah.
Scrap metal.
Yeah.
So they they are musicians, and you think when they approach Cot at the very end that they are going to be a threat because they're holding all these things that are like they look like weapons, but they're not. They're like what is it? Wamolas? That thing that the guys
Oh.
Primus play.
Yeah.
So just weird instruments, and we want it to sound. I think what's the name of that Tom Waits song? Is it called Outlaw?
Oh, you sent it to me the other day. Let's see.
Underground. It's called Underground.
I don't know, but it was so good.
It's called Underground. And we can't play it, or else we'll get a copyright strike. But if you guys look up Tom Waits, Underground, you know what? I think I could actually just share it, and then if you guys have,
Oh, you mean like post the link, and then
I'll post the link, and then you can see it with your own Spotify account.
Yeah.
So let me just do that real quick.
Yeah, that's probably fine.
And Tom Waits is great. He's a great actor too. Like I love him in Bram Stoker's Dracula. So if you guys listen to this, it'll be in the chat. That is a really great Tom Waits song that kind of feels like the vibe that we're going for at the very end when you meet the Gourd gang. And this is probably in the 80s, right, when this song came out anyhow.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Well, this version's the 2023 remaster.
But it's a remake.
No, that may even be 70s.
It might be, right?
Let me see. 1983, actually.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it technically would fit in our 80s homage. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, that's cool. So now you guys kind of have an idea of what we're going for in terms of the music. Bobby R says he loves some Tom Waits. Great track. So you have an idea of the music. You have an idea of...
It's got a voice like an angel.
It's whiskey and cigarettes. It's the greatest combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that sound. You know, that's what I love about Janis Joplin too. She was the female equivalent to that. Like her voice is all raspy and messed up, and it sounds like Churchill's in Miami. Those are not gonna. Most people are not gonna know what that is, but it's a club we used to play at in Miami, which was is still like the nastiest dive bar, and it was the best.
I mean, my memory of Churchill's is sitting in there with like 6 other people one like Wednesday night. Everyone was just drunk. And a 3-legged dog just walked into the bar.
Yeah.
Everyone looked up, just kind of like nodded to the dog and ignored it. And I was like, oh yeah, this is Churchill's. That's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And the dog just hung out.
Yeah.
So yes, Tom Waits is the Churchill's of...
Yep. So, okay, so do you guys want to hear anything again? I want to hear the Mayo theme one more time, and then we'll.
Well, also the question about that James had about the board, or
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So let's hear the Mayo theme one more time. It's a really cool song. That totally would work with the Gourd gang if this voice here was more raspy. If it had
I
that,
think that voice is me. I don't know how much raspier I can get.
no, we're gonna have to fire you, but we'll get someone with a super raspy, nasty. We got to get you to smoke more cigarettes for this song. So you're gonna have to get
There we go.
a bad habit
Pick up
and
the
get you
Marlboro
real
Reds,
drunk and then
yeah.
have you sing it. Yeah,
Sounds like a great idea and super healthy.
super healthy.
Yeah.
There
But
you go. And
I think
I definitely think the percussion could sound a lot rattier and more scrapyard than
100%.
than this feels like. It's a little too buttoned up. But yeah, I mean, like conceptually, I think this could work, but junkyardier.
100%, like just replace all the percussion with pots, pans, hubcaps, just total trash sounds.
Or like, do you remember on Blood Sugar Sex Magic, the Red Hot Chili Peppers record?
course.
They had that Breaking the Girl.
Yeah.
The end of Breaking the Girl, apparently they went to this junkyard and got a whole bunch of scrap metal just banged on it,
Yes.
which apparently then woke up all the ghosts in the house that they were recording in. So yeah,
That is one of the
yeah.
greatest
Apparently they
albums.
recorded that in a haunted mansion.
Are you for real?
I freaking
No,
love
that album.
album. Yeah.
That album sounds amazing. It's Rick Rubin producing and Brendan O'Brien mixing and recording, and he's just I mean, I love everything he did.
Yeah.
It's that album's
Yeah.
sonically it's bonkers.
Yeah. So, all right. So someone said beaker and baytones. I'm thinking it's baritones. Baytones, I don't know. But yeah, I love that. I love it. I love everything we've played today. So I hope you guys dug it as well. Yeah, I mean, super exciting to see that. And I could show you guys some other stuff here. Let me see if this. Okay, so there's a disclaimer here. So this stuff is super. This is not directed. So this is literally, we talked about this last week, like the audition tapes, raw audition tapes, and then just editing it together. So they're not performing to each other. The energy levels don't line up exactly right. And this is them doing this completely cold, right? So a script is sent to them, and they're reading it and auditioning with this. So I'm slicing this all together, but it's not.
The performance.
The performance is not there fully, but it's still pretty cool. So this is what we're thinking for Cotton Mayo. And again, we showed this last week, so it's not completely new, but you guys could hear it. So
There was sword at the thread tempest. Mayo? Yeah, you nearly killed him. Mayo did. It's not funny, Mayo. What if he's mind controlled by moths? But we're targets now. Mayo too, especially you.
Oh, someone said audio is dying.
yeah, I'm gonna keep the camera off. It's just too problematic, so I'm just gonna leave it off. Okay.
There was sword at the thread tempest. Mayo? Yeah, you nearly killed him. Mayo did. It's not funny, Mayo. What if he's mind controlled by moths? But we're targets now. Mayo too? Especially you.
Okay, so you could see we are trying to cast real kids for this, so that a 10-year-old and I believe an 8-year-old. So it's only going to get better from here. This is, like I said, this is like a rough audition that they sent.
Yeah,
But-
there's not really a performance, or they're not performing together or anything. They're just basically reading it, and it sounds great.
But the voices, like you could just hear that innocence in their voice.
Mayo did.
So I love that. And usually Mayo only talks with the word Mayo always comes first, and then one other word.
He only says two words.
Yeah, that's it. 2 words at most.
Mayo too?
So
Mayo did.
So I love the way these kids sound. They sound like real kids because they are real kids, and we decided to record them. So we got this thing this week. I'll show you guys. It's this thing called the IsoVox, and it's like a box that you basically put the talent into. They like duck into this, and then this closes up. I'll show you. And when you close up in there, obviously this has a wall removed so you could see it.
It's like sticking your head inside a box.
It's like sticking your head inside of a box, so you can see it right there. And it is like a portable recording booth. So we got this week, and we're going to start recording the voices. So what we'll probably end up doing, the game plan now is we have all the voice actors. We are going to record everything. Then we're going to edit everything so we can start getting a sense of the timing of each scene. Slapping in some of Dan's stuff and trying to get that stuff to work together. Send it back to Dan, and we're like, okay, this is kind of what it's going to be like. Now, at that point, once you have the visuals in, it's going to change. It's going to be a little bit longer usually, but you now know, oh, I could get this scene down to about a minute or 50 seconds or something. So you have an idea like, okay, once we have a couple of pauses with our visuals, it's going to be at most 10 seconds longer, 15 seconds longer, but you have an idea like I could get this down to this amount of time. And that's how we always like to work. So we'll get all of that in there, temp music, the way we've been showing you today, get the whole performance recorded, and then we're going to do the mocap, which we're doing pretty soon as well. So
You have a comment. You hired actors, kids?
yeah, we hired kids. So they are both kids. For the adult roles, of course, there's adult actors. So one of the characters the professor is being played by Jerry Lacey. And I'll show you if I could find an image of the professor. So that'll be the professor. And Jerry is
He was in
87 years old, it says here. So 87 years old. He was in Dark Shadows. He's played, alongside some legends. He's the coolest guy that we've ever worked with. He's the nicest guy. So Play It Again, Sam was the movie that he played the part of in the movie. I'm not certain, but this is where I think Tarantino took the concept from True Romance, where the main character is constantly talking to Elvis. I think it came from Play It Again, Sam, where it's Woody Allen talking to Humphrey Bogart because Humphrey Bogart is super cool and he's not. And I think that's where, I'm not certain, but it's the same shtick in a way. So that's Jerry. So he's going to be playing. And what's going to be really cool is, you have an 87-year-old actor playing alongside an 8-year-old kid. The variation in the voices that you're going to get there are going to be so cool. And it's going to be undeniable that those are kids and this is an adult man. Like, you just know it. And what we didn't want to do was have adults Mickey Mousing the voice of kids.
Yeah, it's not cute at all. So,
I want to say we had some people that auditioned that we were pretty damn close to using them and they were amazing. So it's not that they weren't fantastic, they were amazing. But we just wanted that authenticity of a real kid's voice. One time, and then and that's a great thing about living in LA is whenever you want to buy used gear, my God, this is the place to buy. You could literally find anything that is musical or camera in the city. So
yeah, that's a huge benefit.
yeah,
Like you can get used things.
Yeah, so we
good-
got
good
this thing.
condition.
It looks literally brand new, and we bought it for like half the price because this thing gets expensive. I think it's like 1,200 bucks. So we got it for half the price. So pretty awesome. And there's a video we saw of someone recording with this in Central Park, and it just completely erased all the sounds from outside. So we thought that was really cool. So we're using this. We're gonna record it at Gnomon. We'll and not the kid actors, the adults and actors as well. So it's going to be pretty cool. So we'll be bringing that soon. Yeah. So
Did you want ask Dan to share like?
yeah, I guess Dan, did you want to show your screen, your interface, just so people could see like all the different layers you're using on Logic?
Yes.
I know you
Let
can't
me.
you can't play it, but and while you do that, I'll just show people. So we're already starting to get all our mocap in. So we're already starting to test some of this stuff. So you can see this does not have mocap on the hands, but it's still very cool to see our little guy walking around and responding, and
I like seeing them to life, like messing with their facial expressions.
oh yeah,
It's you know, um, it is tricky. Like even though Voice in the Hollow was like animated, it was written to be more feeling like live action, like they're essentially like human people.
yeah,
It could have been in live action, whereas these characters are like
they're cartoons. Yeah,
they are so fantasy.
Yeah.
They're so not people, not humans.
yeah, which has been
I think I
scary,
took
honestly.
over your YouTube stream.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, my screen just took over your screens. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't-
totally fine. So tell us what we're seeing here.
So what a great form of, because I don't like rejection. So what I do is I procrastinate super long. And so what I did was I spent a day or two putting together just a template based on different sounds. I went and found every Carpenter-esque or 80s horror synthy type of things I could, and I different patches, and I just kind of put together a session so that when it comes to writing, I'm not hunting around for sounds. I just kind of have it all in front of me. And so this is just a bunch of different color strips is pretty much all you're going to see here. So just, this is that opening cue. It's not nothing terribly exciting that you can glean from this, but just
But
what's
so
it
tell
broken
us
out
what this
into
is.
the,
This is basically just like layers in Photoshop, but they're just sounds, right?
yes, what this is here is, this isn't audio. This is just MIDI triggering. What is, I don't even know what synth this is. Hang on. It's just triggering this sound. That's just a synth that's run through tape emulators and reverbs and stuff like that to try and get close to the sound of those, of that 80s synth horror stuff. And so yeah, that's essentially all this is just different layers hitting different things.
And let me ask you. So right
Yeah.
now you're
And here's-
using a software-based synth, right? Yeah.
But you're asking, you broke up a bit. You asked if I was using software synths.
So it's a software synth, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, purely, again, back to the indecision, it's easier because if I had gone and, grabbed, an analog synth and recorded audio in, and then you guys are like, oh yeah, that sounds great, but can we change this by, 3 seconds or whatever? It would be difficult to chop up all the audio or to have to go back and recall all that stuff, twiddle the knobs, get the right oscillators happening. It's not necessarily terrible.
people can remember.
I used to work for a recording studio, oh gosh, in the late 90s, before we had total digital automation, like on the analog boards. And at the end of the night, the assistants would have to go through, they had some automation that would recall some stuff, like a computer that would recall some stuff, but they would go through and they had printouts that like looked like the face of the different, gear, and they would sit there and they would just mark off where the knobs were turned, so that if they ever had to recall that stuff, they would have to go through the room, plug all the stuff in, turn all the knobs, go back here, turn all these things, and that's how you would recall a mix. So that's how you would do that. When you see these people with these giant walls of modular synths, like you look at these guys that have like a whole wall that's filled with chords and knobs and modules and all that stuff. I don't, I to me, if I put that much effort into anything, I would never address knobs. I'd be like, yeah, I'm sorry, this is what you're gonna get.
So just so people understand, just so people understand that may not know how this works. So analog synths, whenever you see like Trent Reznor and Atticus, like you see them, and they almost look like they're in a spaceship, and there's all these buttons and all these cables that are being connected. You look like you're in a call center from the 1940s. So literally, when they play something on that, they're moving all these dials to get that synthesizer to hit a certain sound. There's no way to save that. There's no way to say, aha, I finally got it, save it. So then now you have to go and record something else. And then they go, oh, let's go back to that other song. How did you get that sound? There's literally, could be 100, I mean, not even, there could be infinite variations of how you could adjust these things to get a specific sound. You may never remember how the hell you ever got that sound again, ever. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of these guys do, what a lot of the composers with modular synths do, is they'll create these sounds, then record them into their computer, and then trigger it, like then put it into a software sampler, like something in the computer, and then trigger it from there. But I also, Trent and Atticus, they come from a record making background, so I think they make their scores like they make records, where they really like dig into the sounds, and they really commit to them early. Again, I am wildly indecisive. I get decision fatigue, so I just I like the flexibility, and it's just, it's a workflow thing. And look, if to me, if I found that it helped create, like if doing something like that helped make the movie or the project better, I would do whatever I could to do that. But I just think that in the circumstances I've been in, that this has been a better workflow for me. That and those synths are expensive.
Yeah.
I would imagine that they're super expensive.
Yeah. Let me ask you, is there a little bit of like vinyl records in that? Like it's
in what?
In those types of synth, like, is it really better to have that stuff, or is it just kind of like someone being like, oh, vinyl sounds better than a CD, and you're like, nah, no, it doesn't. But is there a little bit of that? Like,
I think so. I honestly, I don't know. I would be hard pressed to tell you what was an emulation and what was the real thing. And maybe I don't have the same ears. Maybe someone can hear these differences, but I don't know. I think there's something different that happens when you touch stuff versus when you mouse click stuff.
Sure.
But I'm sure someone somewhere can hear the difference. Me personally, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
But it's also, a lot of this stuff has to do with the creative process. I mean, would those guys be writing the same thing if they weren't doing that? And now here's the thing too, is when I pull up one of these synths, when I pull up a string patch, when I pull up some of that stuff, literally anyone in the world has that same exact sound. So there's the benefit of creating something that maybe someone else hasn't done.
I see.
And so, in that, you know, if you have the opportunity to do that, that would be the thing, right? Because we all, when we have a computer, when we have plugins, when we have virtual instruments, we all have the same exact thing, and it gets a little one note. You know, everyone starts sounding the same. So, you know, so I think that's the benefit of doing something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So anyway, guys, I think that's all we got for today. Does anybody have any other questions related to the music or sounds? If not, we're gonna wrap it up.
I enjoyed hearing it again. Like, this was cool because I normally don't get to hear your process, Dan. Like, I normally just have Miguel will play. I'm like, oh, that's great, and you know, that's it. So it was kind of cool. Like, I enjoyed the session. Today's
I know
stream
this is.
was fun for me.
Yeah, I think so too. I think
yeah,
it was
this is-
awesome. Sorry.
This has been no, this has been fantastic. Thank you for having me. And you know, you know, for as much as I've talked today, I never really feel like I have much to add to the conversation. But thank you for making me feel like I do, and that, you know, it's something that people might want to check out.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. We'll play this one last time, and then we will take off. So
Yeah.
let's hear it one more time. This is the original one. All right, guys. So that's it. Thanks again. Thanks again to Dan for coming in, and everybody, the usual suspects that are always on here. We appreciate you guys so much. And big thanks to Dell, who sponsors everything that we're doing. Of course, with through Gnomon, Alex Alvarez, and everybody that always has our back and allows us to make this cool stuff. So thanks to everybody. And yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
We are out of here. Dan, I'll talk to you on the other side and see you guys later.
Bye, everyone.
Later.